So, today I'm going to talk to you about the theme of Salman Rushdie's famous novel. And as I was telling you about the reviewer from the Philadelphia Inquirer, who called the book a fascinating history lesson as well as an engrossing story. Remember, fascinating history lesson. That is the first theme of this novel, history. I will explain it later. Okay. And Robin J. Lewis asserted that in a remarkably short period of time, Rushdie had altered our vision of the Indian subcontinent to the extent that all the previous literary accounts of India, such as those by Kipling, Foster, Raja Rao, and Narkin Narayan, had been simultaneously subsumed into and surpassed by Rushdie's passionate evocation of the recent history of India and Pakistan. So, this was the impact of this novel when it was published. Now, such reviews, favorable reviews, it got. However, Rushdie, in his famous Imaginary Homelands, he says that many readers wanted it to be the history, even the guidebook, which it was never meant to be. That is a very, very important factor. He never wanted it to be a history book like a guidebook. But people read like that because in the very beginning, Salim Sinai, the protagonist, he uh, he declares that he is handcuffed to the history of India. So, uh, when we talk about Rushdie's novel, what is very important that it influenced not just Indian writing in English, it also influenced British and other Western writers and the literary scenario of the time. It was a kind of empire striking back with vengeance. All right, and you can see that it was a kind of anti-colonial thrust. All right, because Rushdie tried to subvert each and everything. As in my previous lecture, I told you about Methold, a very, very important character. How through Methold, Rushdie tried to show the real nature of the white people, how they exploited India, and how they believed that exploitation, how they justified their exploitation, that we have done something, lot of things for India. Okay, and behind him, he left an illegitimate child by a bigger woman. Huh? Because it was a kind of his property and he exploited that property, that beggar woman. Huh? So everything they left with a kind of hybrid identity, or you can say hybrid identities, multiple hybrid identities. So uh, it was a if we start with first theme, history. Now, this history is actually not the history of nation. It is the history of nation and the individual and how they are so beautifully connected, or you can say interconnected. Means the history of India and life of Salim, how they are interconnected. Okay, uh, it is very beginning, as I told you, that Salim described as being mysteriously handcuffed to history, and my destiny is indissolubly chained to those of my country. No? So he declares it, no doubt, but uh, it's a kind of a strange tale which Rushdie sets, and the story begins at least from 1915. Okay, but the point of the time, which is the most important factor in this novel, is the midnight stroke on 15th of August 1947. Okay, so what is important here that Rushdie establishes connection between every personal event in Salim's life with that and his family with the history of India, whether it is political event or historical event, na, that unfold in independent India. Okay, Rushdie carefully maintains these historical details with individual details throughout the novel. Okay, so the very important thing uh, about Rushdie's novel is that uh, from the beginning we find how Jallianwala Bagh happened, and there was a kind of spot which Adam Aziz found, and it remained throughout the life. No? So then we find that how uh, uh, mm, Ali Mia was shot, who was in favor of one India. Yeah? That was also a historical fact. And how his follower just uh, kept went on hiding, yeah, with the Sinai family. Okay, and this from General Dyer's shooting to Indira Gandhi's emergency period, we find several incidents of historical and political importance, which are parallel story of Salim Sinai also. Yeah? Because every event, every political or historical event creates an impact on the life of Salim. Whether he had to move from India to Pakistan, then Pakistan to Bangladesh, then again Bangladesh to India, then to Bombay. A cycle of history completes with him. So, history is the first and the most important theme of this novel, and with that history, colonialism and the neo-colonialism in India is something which is going to set the tune of the novel. Okay, how this novel shows that though Methol has gone, but before going back, he ensured that nothing is changed from his home. No? Nothing is to be changed. Even she screams, Amina Sinai screams, oh my God, I will have to keep it also. But he ensures it properly that nothing is to be changed. And what we find that though they went on, see, I the in my previous lecture, I told you that how Rushdie has created Mithal as a caricature of evil and degeneration. Okay, he is not a fully fleshed out character. That is very, very important to remember. And this is what Rushdie is doing willingly, because he wants to show how Method, who was a descendant of the Method, who was first officer in the East India Company, and he is the last uh, person here, first and the last, both Method. Okay, how they exploited the entire colonial colony, and this adventure of exploitation and demoralization of these people is to be seen nakedly here in the character of Method, which I explained you beautifully in my previous lecture. Khair, from Method, what is important here when he sells his villa, that nothing is to be changed, what we find that people, Indian people, they started becoming English. Yeah? And it is again symbolic. We find that Ahmed Sinai, he turns white. In the movie, it is not shown properly, but here in the story, he turns white. What does it mean? It means that though the English people went back to their home, yet they have left their permanent mark on those people who have studied English well. They are actually not just studied the language, they have not just adopted the language, They have also adopted what? They have also adopted their manners, no? Their way of living, their way of speaking, everything. So they became English actually in their character. So Rushdie is making this very, very clear that how the superiority of English people is still there in the neo-colonial India. And and uh, Ahmed Sinai shows that character how he has changed. Okay, and there is another issue. Why Rushdie wrote this novel? He makes it very clear in his Imaginary Homelands, as I told you, that being a migrant English writer, he consciously sets out to expose British colonialism and its long-lasting impact called neo-colonialism in India. And more than that, he had an urge to redefine his homeland. Na? He had an urge to redefine his homeland. Okay. I spoke about his lines that the broken parts of antiquities, from Imaginary Homeland, and I told you to read this line and use this line in your answer. So he is trying to recollect that broken parts of antiquities, no? Because it belonged to India. So he had to create an imaginary homeland. Okay. So in this imaginary homeland, it is again a post-colonial, you can say, adventure of writers to rewrite about their homeland. Okay. And in this rewriting, he is ripping off the mask of the British people without any remorse. And he is very much preoccupied with the theme of India's colonization and its lasting impact on the Indian mind, which he says as neocolonialism. Now, another important factor or the theme which you can say is the theme of fragmentation, migrancy, and memory. In my previous lecture, I explained it so in detail how fragmentation is very important to this novel. From the beginning of the novel, you find that the story moves through fragmentation. Okay, Dr. Adam Aziz is acquainted with his would-be wife through a perforated sheet, not in totality. He neither can touch her total body, nor he can see her totally. Just he can use his one hand, no, through a perforated sheet. Okay, and from that time moving onwards, we find that there is always fragmentation, migrancy, and how memory plays a great role in binding people together and creating fragmentation. So let us talk about uh, this fragmentation. See, before moving to the story, this fragmentation is very, very important for the migrant writers. Okay, because as I quoted this line from Imaginary Homeland, broken parts of antiquities means fragmented identities. Okay, so people who migrate from non-white to white countries, okay, they find their identities fragmented because when they are marginalized in a new land, then they try to find their own identity. But their identity as an Indian is not purely an Indian identity as of a native who is living in India. Okay, so there is a kind of fragmentation. So this fragmentation by these writers is deeply felt. And what is the reason of that fragmentation? Migration. Okay, so what we find, I think you have read George Lemming's The Castle of My Skin. It was in your course. See, uh, here this sensitivity, the dilemma, and the divided feeling that a migrant from the third world experiences in the West. This is beautifully explained, and I request you to read it again if it is in your course. अभी नहीं है तो आगे कोर्स में ज़रूर होगा ये. Okay. So, uh, from this fragmentation, we find how the identity of Salim Sinai is fragmented. What we find that he is son of Sinai family, but later on we find that he is not son of Sinai family. No? Identity is fragmented, crashed. Okay. So it was disclosed that he was switched. No? Two babies were switched, changed. And who changed? Mary. Okay. So the first thing that he has to lose a family. He has to lose an identity. He has to live a fragmented identity. After that, when he is sent to Pakistan, no? And when he came to realize his powers, that he has that telepathic mind, and where here he can use his mind as a radio station. Okay, we find further migration after Pakistan. No? When there is an operation of his nose, he lost that faculty. Later on, he loses his memory. When he loses his memory, he loses his identity completely. Okay? It's a complete eraser of identity. And then, when he comes to Bangladesh as a sniffer dog, his identity is like a sniffer dog when he is in Pakistan army. Okay? Because of his powerful sense of smell. Okay? So when he comes to Bangladesh, and when he saw Parvati, he calls her by name. And then Parvati is the instrument to restore his memory. Then again he finds his identity, that I am the same person. And again from there, what we find, that though he marries Parvati, but the son which she bears is not the son of Salim Sinai. He is son of Shiva. Okay. And from that place, he again goes back to Bombay, to the pickle factory of Mary. And he finds another identity. He seeks his mother. And it's very important, as I told you, that he begets more mothers than a mother begets a son. Okay? He finds more mothers. And as far as fragmentation is concerned, his body is also fragmented, mutilated sometimes. Okay? From his nose to his organs. Okay? And he is always on exile till he comes to Bombay again. He is always migrating from one place to another place, and is not getting any whole identity. He is doomed to live a fragmented identity. All right. So, though he is very much obsessed with tracing an ancestry, okay, because this tracing ancestry is actually an attempt to come to terms with the problems of a divided identity. Okay, he is drawn to West. Okay, sometimes then he is but he never loves Pakistan, as I told you in my previous lecture. He never loves Pakistan. He regrets. In his memory, Bombay is always his home. Okay. Though he is alienated from the place, and alienation is actually the fate of this family. Adam Aziz is alienated from Kashmir. MS Sinai is alienated from Bombay when his property is confiscated from government. Okay, and there is multiple alienation of this person Salim Sinai. Okay, so uh, the process begins with Adam Aziz, who was an alienated person, half and half a Kashmiri Muslim. He never assumed himself as a pure Muslim, half and half a Kashmiri Muslim. He was a kind of, you can say, a kind of secular person who believed in secularism. Okay, and this person, Salim Sinai, who was the child of William Mithold and Varita, okay, uh, it's a kind of further alienation. Okay, he is not purely Indian. He is not purely either Hindu or Muslim. He is not Indian actually purely. He is alienated from Indian, being an Indian. Okay, so this homeless wanderer Salim Sinai, who is always losing home. Okay, first at the time of birth he loses his home from V. Vinki and Vanita. Then he loses his home MS Sinai, and again he loses his home in Pakistan. ना अपनी मौसी के यहाँ रहता है ना, and again he loses Parvati finally before he comes to marry. So this forced exile is compounded with the dishonesty of other people. He is not responsible actually for that alienation. It was not his fault actually. It begins with the fault of Mary, who wanted to impress her communist boyfriend. No? Biblical implication is here. Mary remains virgin here as the Mary of Bible. Okay, so this is a very very important novel which I tell you to read again and again. I am telling you. Okay, so in my next lecture I will talk about structure and other things. Okay.